Hi, my name is Jeremy Martin. Welcome to Downtown Faith. I'm the founding pastor here. As most of you know, this doesn't happen because of one person. It happens because of teams of people and leaders that own the work because they're passionate about creating space in downtown Las Vegas to discuss life and faith. And this happens because people come and they sit around tables and they discuss their life and what's going on and their faith and what do they believe in. And we believe that when we discuss these important matters, life change begins to happen in us. So we're in our new series, Chasing the Wind. We're going to ask a very important question in this series. I'm really looking forward to it. Before we get to that, 2014 study shows that 75% of Americans are looking for ways to find meaning, more meaning in their life. It's probably most of us in this room, right? Looking for ways to find meaning in your life, that your life will matter. 6 in 10 people say they want to make a difference in the world through their career, through their work in life, but only about 5 out of 10 actually feel that they've made the right choice in their career. Again, maybe that's you. Maybe you're like, am I making a difference in my work? I'd love to. 59% of women say they're dissatisfied in their work and home balance. They're stressed out, 72% say. 58% say they're tired and overcommitted. Each of these self-descriptions increases if you have a child 18 or under in your home. Maybe that's you. Another study shows that 75% of people are happy in their work, in their job, but that only about 50% say that they actually find meaning in the same job, though. Right? They're happy with where they work, but they're looking for meaning. And I think it leads us to this important question. Over the last few series, we've had these important questions. We asked, what is the Bible? And we said, what is a Christian? And now we're in this series, Chasing the Wind, and we're asking this question here. What is the point? What is the point? What is this life for? Is there purpose? Is there meaning? Is it just about being happy and then being dead? And sometimes I think when we look at this, when we ask this question, what is the point? A lot of us chase more, right? The point becomes more, and so we get caught up in this. And I would say certainly in our American life, and if you just look at marketing and the way it's designed, it is about more, right? And we think, well, if we just have a little bit more, then that'll help us get there. We'll find meaning, we'll find purpose there. We pursue more, or maybe we pursue better, right? Like you did more and it didn't really work, and so now you're going for better, right? So it's not just about 1 car to 2 car, now it's about the nicer car, and you go from more to better, and you want better things or that better job, and we look and we pursue not just more, but then better, because we feel like that's going to fill the void or that's going to provide purpose and meaning. Or maybe you've moved to the next one and it's like not just more, not just better, it's different, right? And maybe you know people like that, maybe you're like that. It's like about just being a little different than everybody else, not just having that better job, but having that different job, right? Like everyone looks at me and they think, ooh, I wish I could do that, right? Or having that different thing, that you can point to in your life and you think, if I just pursue this different kind of thing, or maybe this different kind of life, that will fulfill me. I know this is kind of one that I kind of fall into personally, right? I'm not really concerned with more and better, but being different, that's kind of fun for me, and sometimes I feel like that's going to provide that meaning, and there's more, better, different, but then also next, right? Like we pursue what's next. And maybe you're a tech head in here, right? And you need that iPhone X, whatever the next iPhone is, and I don't begrudge you that. I have an X. I prefer my 5S though, if we're being honest. Right? But you want that just whatever's next in life. Like it's hard to be content where you are because you're always looking at what's next. And so we pursue this more, better, different next. And I'll say this, like the pursuit of these things, more, better, different next, isn't wrong. It's just not where we find purpose. It's not where we find meaning. It's not the thing. It doesn't answer the question, what is the point? Because I think we've all maybe gotten to one of these, more, better, different, next, and gone, yeah, but the next thing, right? Like it's It's still out there. There's still that purpose, there's still that meaning that looms somewhere else. And I'll say this, I don't think that this is a modern world problem. I don't think that this is new to us in 2018. I think these are ancient problems that human beings have been wrestling with for thousands and thousands of years. I think these are questions like, what is the point, that's been going on a long, long time. And so I think there's ancient solutions to these ancient problems, right? That because it's not new, that maybe somewhere along the way we can find some answers to this thing. What is the point? What provides meaning? What is the purpose? So there's this guy who wrote parts of the Bible, and he really wrote some wisdom parts of the Bible, right? And he was a king that was known for his wisdom. It even talks about how people would, other rulers would come from far away and would visit, and they would say, listen, like, I heard stories, but the actual thing that this guy lives is like better than all the stories that I've heard. And it was, maybe you're familiar with the Bible and you've heard of King Solomon, right? King David's son that ended up taking the kingdom. And it was in some of the best years of the Jewish nation in their kingdom. We have this guy Solomon, and he wrote a lot of the Proverbs. Maybe you've read some of the Proverbs. And there's this other book that's written in the Old Testament called Ecclesiastes, and it really comes from the root word that has to do with an assembly or a gathering. It's actually the same word that we get for church in the New Testament, is the ecclesia. In the Greek, it's an assembly or a gathering. That's why oftentimes we just call this our discussion gathering, right? We're gathering, and so we see that it's called Ecclesiastes because this person has gathered and assembled people, and he's referred to as the teacher, right? And that's what most translations use, the teacher, because he gathered to share knowledge, to share wisdom with these people. And this is how the teacher starts off, and I believe this is probably like a speech. It reads like a transcription of a speech, right? So maybe the teacher was giving this at an actual assembly, and someone transcribed what he said, and here's how he starts the whole thing off. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher. Completely meaningless. Ooh, this is going to be a good one, right? Like if you're sitting there, you're probably like, well, what a bummer, man. So meaningless here, the root word is in the Hebrew is hevel, H-E-V-E-L. It's used 38 times in this speech, in this book, Ecclesiastes. And what it literally means is like vapor or smoke. So he's saying everything is smoke. Everything's completely a vapor. We actually found this, we looked at last year about this time, we looked at the book of James, and we said how it was like the wisdom book of the New Testament. It was actually a letter written by the brother of Jesus, and he uses this same phrase, is that life is like a vapor, right? It's here and gone. And that's really what the teacher is coming at here, is that it's the idea of the brevity and the mystery of life. The brevity and the mystery of life is like a vapor. It's here and then it's gone, and what was it for? What was the point? He's saying it's meaningless. It's hard. It's like grasping at something that's not really there when you look at life. And the simile that he uses over and over and over again is he uses this word hevel, this meaningless or emptiness. Some translations use. He uses this phrase here, chasing the wind. And chasing the wind, when it comes down to it, if you read it over and over and over again, all the times he uses it, is basically this: the pursuit of anything that promises to fill a void in our life, created by not having it to begin with. It's just like, this is his figure of speech. This is what it means. It's the idea of, I'm pursuing anything that promises to fill a void in my life. The void's only there because that thing exists, and I think it's going to fill the void. It's going to provide meaning. It could also be worded this way: living life to the fullest and ending up empty. Living life to the fullest and ending up empty. Now Solomon, the teacher here, what we find is that his life was lived to the fullest. No one lived. I mean, you just think when it came to education, he said, I got the best education. When it came to building things, I built all kinds of things. I invented things. When it came to enjoyment and pleasure, I had all the drunken parties. I had all the women I could handle. I had all of the fame that I can, like everything that you can imagine. All the things that we, if you look around life, all of us are pursuing in one way or another, right? That more, that better, that next, that different. He had it. He lived it to the fullest in his life. And at the end, he says, meaningless. It's like chasing the wind. I lived life to the fullest and still ended up empty. This is not a real pick-me-up kind of speech, right? So let's look at all the kind of the problem. He's going to kind of frame this for us and look at all the times that we see chasing the wind. He says, I observed everything going on under the sun, and really it's all meaningless, like chasing the wind. My observations were, we're pursuing these things that are empty. So I set out to learn everything from wisdom to madness and folly, but I learned firsthand that pursuing all this is like chasing the wind. He goes on to say, but as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. Later on he says, so I came to hate life, right? Like this is probably even a moment of like depression for this speaker, for this teacher here. Because everything done here under the sun is so troubling. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please Him. But if a sinner becomes wealthy, God takes the wealth away and gives it to those who please Him. This too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. It says, then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors, right? They look around, they compare their life, but this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. If that's what motivates you, you're just chasing the wind. You're going to end up empty. And yet, better to have one handful with quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. And then later on, he's talking about like a young political figure. Like this political figure rises up in fame, and then like people surround this person. But then look what he says happens. It says, endless crowds stand around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too. So it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind, right? Like political power ultimately ends up being meaningless, like chasing the wind. And this too is a very serious problem. People leave this world no better off than when they came. All their hard work is for nothing, like working for the wind. And then one more. Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Man, like really like a bummer, right? Like bringing it down and again, just sharing his wisdom, his experience, his take on life. It's like chasing the wind. When you look at it, if you're looking for meaning, you're looking for purpose, it's like chasing the wind. But he's going to contrast it occasionally. He's going to throw in this contrast that I think we can really, really learn some things for. And I think it's going to spur some great discussion at the table today around that question of what is the point. He's going to contrast this idea of chasing the wind a few different times. And I want to look at the contrast and see maybe some things that we can learn and maybe spark some discussion at the table. So he says this, so I decided there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God, for who can eat anything or enjoy anything apart from Him? So he says this, like to eat food, drink, and find satisfaction in your work, like that's a good thing. There's not really much better than that. And we see here like food and drink, I think is also kind of like metaphors, figures. Have you ever had lunch and it was about more than food? Right? Sometimes it's about like people. Sometimes it's about the place you're at. It's the moment that you're in when you're having that food or that drink, right? Those things are always about more than the food and drink themselves. And oftentimes our work, we find our work can be meaningful to someone else, right? And so if we can enjoy that where we are. He continues, he says in other places, so I concluded there's nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God. It's like, yeah, like that makes sense, right? Like it's like, okay, like there's the real downer side, but then he shows us where enjoyment and some good things can be found. He says, even so, I have noticed one thing, at least, that is good. It is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. It has to do with like this contentment of where we are. And it is a good thing to receive wealth from God and the good health to enjoy it, to enjoy your work and accept your lot in life. This is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they take no time to brood over the past. I love that, right? Like people who kind of are content in where they are, they're very present to their life, have no time to dwell on the past, to dwell on the bad things, the struggle, because they're so busy enjoying where they are in their life. And that leads us to our idea worth discussing is this: purpose is found in the presence amid the pursuit. Purpose is found in the presence amid the pursuit. See, he doesn't say that the pursuit of these things is wrong, that it's bad. He just says it's not the point. Maybe you're like me and you were a Lost fan and you hated the last season and the last episode, like the finale, the thing that was supposed to wrap it up in a bow. And then you saw people on social media go, it was about the journey, not the destination. And I went, no, it was kind of about the destination for me. I had some questions that I wanted answered. That's what he's saying. It's being present to your life amid the pursuit of those things that you have, the dreams that you do have. It's not that they're bad. It's not that they're wrong. Go after them, chase them, pursue them. But don't miss the life and being present to the life and the people that you do have amid that pursuit. Aim for presence and you hit everything else, right? That's kind of what he's saying here in this. It's not bad, it's just not the point. So, I want to quickly just talk about it, pull some things from here, and I'll also say this, some things that I've been learning in my own life, especially here in 2018, just about how to become more present to your life, how to be more present to the life that you do have now. So how to be present to your life. First off, unearth the meaning in the moments. This is all about perspective. This is all about perspective. Unearth the meaning in the moments. It's the idea of this. We can look at a situation, a moment in our life, and I think if most of us are honest, our go-to thing is somehow negative, right? Especially if it's a struggle in life. And some of life just is a struggle, right? Especially if you're trying to live your dreams, you're trying to pursue your dreams. There's struggle involved. And we can look at those things and we can go, yeah, this isn't ideal. And our go-to is to just find the negative in it. But if we can unearth the meaning in the moments, the things that really matter, and that's about changing our perspective to be able to do that. I'll say how this has hit in my own personal life. Is my wife went back to work at the end of last year, kind of starting this year. Huge transition for the family. She was staying at home with the kids. And even with her working, we couldn't necessarily afford childcare, so it required me to work from home and be with my very small children for long hours of the day. And for a lot of guys, for a lot of men, if we're honest, that's not the ideal work situation, certainly, and maybe not even the ideal home situation for a lot of men, just maybe the way they're wired or whatever, and some men do it and they flourish, and for me, it was kind of like a both and. I really do enjoy my kids, but it's also like these things that I'm pursuing, and I made a decision in the moment, and again, I was preparing actually for this series and kind of looking into this, and I just thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to eat it up. I'm going to eat it up. I'm going to be present to my kids as much as possible in this time. Because guess what? One of them starts kindergarten this year, later on. I'm not going to have this moment, this kind of time, this kind of presence with them ever again. It's a time. And those of you who are ahead of me in parenting, you're like, yeah, I'm never going to have it. And yeah, is it the hard time? Right? Is it the bathroom accidents, and is it the spilling of the food, and is it the loudness? Yeah, there's all those things are involved. But if I can unearth the meaning in the moments, right? If I can change my perspective, I gain this presence to my children and to my home and to my life that I find myself in currently, and I've loved it. I'm finding the meaning in it. It is mattering to me and to my kids, and it's a short time, and I got it a little bit longer, and then it won't be there again. But when I was able to change my perspective and just be present to the life that I do have, it really changed the way that I approach it. And amid that, I've been able to live all of my dreams and all of my pursuits, and it didn't stop any of them. And I was so happy about it. I was like, look, you can have it all. You can, if your perspective is different, if you unearth the meaning in the moments. But also, avoid the comparison trap. Remember he talks about like looking at your neighbor, right? Have you ever found yourself prioritizing their life over your life? Have you ever given weight to someone else's life and not your own? I know, Facebook's great about this, right? We get to compare our normal to everyone else's highlight reel. My best friend all the time is like, yeah, your kids are cute, but where's the ones of them screaming? Where's that video? That's the one I want to see. Right? Because we put it out there and we see everyone's best and we prioritize their life over our own, or they tell us how it should be done, and we feel this social pressure to be something else, and we just get caught in comparison. We look at our neighbor, and that's what motivates us to be different, is someone else's life. And he's saying, hey, you know what? Just to enjoy your life is what matters. To prioritize your lot in life, your place in this world. That's where enjoyment is found. That's where meaning and purpose can be found, is being present to your life and avoiding the comparison trap. And I'm sure we've all been there. I'm sure it's all a daily struggle for each of us. And then lastly, how to be present to your life. Enjoy life as a gift. Right? This is about praise or gratitude. Gratitude is the lens through which we see a better life in ourselves. He says it over and over and over again. What I realized is that the things that really mattered were a gift from God. Now maybe you're like, I don't believe in the whole God thing or anything like that. You probably still understand the benefits of gratitude. You probably still understand that you're not in complete control of your life, and that things are dictated to you sometimes, right? And life happens whether you're involved or not, like it's going on around you, and you feel that there's something outside of you, and you see the good gifts that's outside of you. We would call that God. Maybe you call it something different, but I'll tell you this, no matter where you land on that spectrum, gratitude is hugely beneficial for our hearts and our lives and our mind and being present to the life that we do have. And I'm willing to bet all of us could sit and complain for hours. But if we really tried to turn that around, if we turn our problems into praise and we started looking at the things that we have to be grateful for, it begins to change our perspective and to change our mind about the life that we do have. And I would encourage you this week, maybe that's the project in your life, is to turn the complaining around and turn it into gratitude. Every time you want to say something negative, you just be thankful for something that you do have that is positive and the life that you do have. Because purpose is found in the presence amid the pursuit, being present to our life. Reminds me of a story of a fisherman. He's walking home, he's got about 5 fish, and he runs across a businessman. The businessman stops, and it's lunchtime. The businessman is going out to lunch, and he stops the fisherman, and he says, hey, what will you do the rest of the day? And what will you do with these fish? He said, well, I'm gonna take these 5 fish, I'm gonna take them down to the market, and I'm gonna sell them, and I'm gonna take the money, I'm gonna buy some food for my family, and then I'm gonna go home to my family, and we're gonna eat food, and we're gonna go to the beach, and I'm gonna put my toes in the sand and watch my kids play in the water. And the businessman was like, yeah, but don't you know that if you stay out just a little bit longer, you could maybe catch 10 fish, and you could take some for your family and to feed your family, but then you could also invest the others into better equipment that maybe you then start catching 15 or 20 fish, and then you can take those fish and you can invest that money, and you can have a boat, and then you can start hiring people, and you can catch more and more fish, and you can make more and more money, and you could grow your business. And he asked the businessman, well, what would I do then? He He said, well, then you can go to the beach with your family and put your toes in the sand and watch your kids play in the water. Don't miss the life you have in pursuit of the one you don't.